The Senate will please come to order. Are there any announcements before we move to action? Possible action. I have one brief announcement. We do have Mr. Andrew Evans' 6th grade class from the Sharon Elementary participating in Lieutenant Governor for a day, joining us this afternoon. Welcome. We do have a Senate resolution to take up at this time, SR 11. Please listen to the first reading of the resolution, or the only reading, and by title only.
SR 11. Senate resolution honoring the memory of George Floyd by designating May 25, 2021 as a day of remembrance and action.
SR 11 will be treated like a bill and referred to the Committee on Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs. The senator from Windham is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. By way of announcement, the resolution that was just referred to economic development will be sent out from the Senate Secretary's office in case there are members of the Senate that would like to sign on. So please read through the resolution and get the okay to Secretary Bloomer by 5 p.m. I think it's a resolution that most members of the Senate will want to sign on to. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. We now will move to the actions of the day, potential actions. The senator from Windham is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, I move that the rules be suspended. Pending entry on the calendar for notice, I move the rules be suspended and that S13, an act relating to the implementation of the pupil weighting factors report, be taken up for immediate action.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Windham has moved that the rules be suspended and S13 be taken up for immediate action. Are you ready for the question? Kindly unmute. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you've suspended the rules and agreed to take up S13 for immediate action. We have on the calendar today S13, an act relating to the implementation of the pupil weighting factors report. The House has proposed to the Senate to amend the bill. The underlying question is, shall the Senate concur with the House proposal of amendment on S13? The senator from Bennington, Senator Campion, the chair of the Committee on Education, is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Just to remind senators, that S13, the weighting implementation plan, both stem from concerns about the extent to which the education funding formula is effective in equalizing educational costs and, by extension, opportunities to learn for students across the state. As a reminder, the manner in which the state currently calculates the number of equalized pupils in a school district has been criticized for being out of step with contemporary educational conditions. The factors and weights used in the calculation have not been modified in more than 20 years, despite the significant changes in statewide demographics and the student needs that have transpired during that time. We passed this S13, this bill, back in, I believe it was February, on a unanimous vote. Senators recognized the need to move in this direction. The House returned S13 to us with a few minor suggestions to the Senate Education, to the purview of the Senate Education Committee, but they did add some additional work that ended up pushing this bill also to Senate Finance and gave them an opportunity to review it. And then also, because they increased the amount of funding that might be necessary to complete this implementation work, it also went to Senator Probst. We've been told that Senator Probst approves these additional dollars and that they are in the budget. With regard to Senate Education's work, there are really only three minor changes. The bones of the original bill are certainly there. Well, there was concern that some of the language that the House passed over to us wouldn't allow for this, for the implementation team this summer to look at issues in a more broad way. In other words, there was some concern that initially that the language was perhaps a little too narrowing, that the committee wouldn't be able to reach out, do additional research, pull in different consultants. But we, after in consultation with Ledge Council and our House counterparts, feel as though this work and the work that will be done this summer is going to be, again, a broad overview looking at, again, all sorts of impacts and factors that could impact weighting. And this final report, which will include draft legislation, we plan to take up, as senators will recall, when we return in January. The House also removed the consultant from the Senate proposal, which we were comfortable with. And we've heard from possible individuals that would consult on this project, that they would be available. Finally, the House proposed a few slight changes with regard to the committee makeup, again, that will work on this implementation plan this summer, and we were comfortable with those. The Senate Education Committee reviewed this work multiple times. This afternoon, we took a vote of 6-0-0 to advance it. Madam President, if I may, I would now like to have the junior senator from Addison, reference the work that was done in Senate Finance on one section of this bill.
Certainly, the senator from Addison is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to the chair of the Senate Education Committee. The Finance Committee reviewed one section of this bill, Section 5, that was added in the House, in the other body. And this is a moratorium on the excess spending threshold. And this would be in place for fiscal year 2022 and 2023. The excess spending threshold is a per pupil amount above which school districts cannot spend without incurring a double taxation for the amount above the excess spending threshold. I was just hurrying to try to find the exact number of the current year's excess spending threshold, and I was not able to find it, but it's around $18,000 per pupil. And if a district spends more than that, then they would be penalized in their property tax rate. The spending threshold is a particular concern for districts with declining enrollment, who have fewer and fewer students each year, because the spending threshold is calculated on a per pupil basis. And it's also a concern for districts that have costs incurred due to things which they believe are sort of out of their control. And the classic example is the health insurance costs for teachers that increase at a rate above the amount of other expenses in school budgets. So this would be a moratorium on those. You'll note that the FY22 school district budgets have already been approved. They were almost all approved on town meeting day earlier this year. So those budgets have been set. I believe there were around 13 districts that exceeded the threshold for a number of reasons. Several of them exceeded it because of capital construction costs. In another bill, we have created an exemption to the capital construction costs, and that has already been approved. And so that would reduce the number of districts that would be impacted by this moratorium. The estimated fiscal impact for FY22 budgets is around $1.4 million, and that would be incurred on the education fund. For FY23, the school budgets, of course, have not yet passed. So the impact on the education fund is not yet known. There would be districts that would probably carry forward the excess spending that they are incurring in this year, but there are other districts that would make decisions if this were to pass that we cannot estimate at this point. All of this being said, the Finance Committee considered these factors, and although we have concerns about the potential financial implications, particularly in FY23. We understand that this provision is important for the passage of this important bill, and we agreed on a vote of 5-2 to support this provision in S13 and concur with the House's proposal of amendment. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Bennington, would you wish to be recognized for anything further?
Thank you, Madam President. No, that concludes Senate Education's report, and we hope that the Senate will concur with these additional proposals of amendment from the other body and look forward to advancing this work. Thank you.
Thank you. And the senator from Chittenden, Senator Baruth, is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. First, I wanted to thank the committee for bringing this bill to the finish line. We did pass, just prior to the pandemic, an attempt to deal with this issue. Like many bills, it died in that March pandemic moment. But I thank the chair of the committee for sticking to it. I also want to thank the committee for accepting the House's scope of work. I just want to remind everybody why we're doing this. So the UVM study found that we were significantly underfunding certain weights that we already use, like poverty or weights for English language learners. But it found something much more dramatic, and that is that we have never accounted for the extra spending that it takes a rural district, a district out in the country with very few people. It costs them a lot more to educate their kids. We have never recognized that in the formula. And so now that we know that, every year that goes by without accounting for rural districts is an injustice being done to those districts. And it's one being done knowingly. So with that said, I think it's great that the committee worked on this and got it through. It is an implementation task force, which means that when we come back in January, we're going to be sitting with a plan that will be a gut check for this body. I'm hoping that everybody understands this is about the data, the children, and the injustice that is continuing even as we go into the off session. So with that said, thank you very much, Madam President.
Thank you. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House proposal of amendment on S13? Are you ready for the question? Kindly unmute. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you concur with the House proposal of amendment on S13. The senator from Windham is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Pending entry on the calendar for notice, I move that the rules be suspended and H360, an act relating to accelerated community broadband deployment, be taken up for immediate action.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Windham has moved that the rules be suspended and H360 be taken up for immediate action. Are you ready for the question? Kindly unmute. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you suspended the rules, and will take up H360 for immediate action. We have for action a report of the Committee of Conference on H360, an act relating to accelerated community broadband deployment. The underlying question is, shall the Senate accept and adopt the report of the Committee on Conference? The senator from Washington, Senator Cummings, is recognized for the report of the conferees.
Thank you, Madam President. Just let me say to start with that the House and the Senate have all agreed in principle from the beginning what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. What we have been doing is fine tuning. And the reason we've had to do so much fine tuning is that we are creating a system to get access to high-speed broadband out into the rural, unserved, and underserved areas. This is a totally new system for us. And I think, as every parent knows, you sit down and you look at your infant child and you say, aha, this is what I want him to be or her to be. And then life intrudes, and that would-be athlete turns out to have 2 left feet, and you have to adjust. I think we are trying to anticipate all the pitfalls, all the issues that might arise, but I think we also know things will arise that we can't even imagine, and we will have to make adjustments. This represents, I hope, a finely tuned vehicle that will get us much further than we could ever imagine going. In the past, we've had a couple $1 million a year in the connectivity fund, and we've done a mile here and a mile there. With the ARPA funding, and before that, the CARES funding, we have the financial ability to put a significant dent into that lack of broadband connectivity. And several years ago, communities recognized, and we recognized by giving a legal framework, that the old system wasn't working. It was doing the same thing that rural electrification did. The for-profit companies were doing the valleys and the downtowns, the higher density areas, but it didn't meet their business plan to go out to those more rural communities, not to mention the back roads. And so I think it was 3 years ago, we created the community communications union districts and gave them the legal framework as a municipality, similar to a water district or fire district. And a great deal of the plan we have come up with is in how we empower those CUDs to get the expertise and the organization they need, and then to get fiber, and we're talking fiber, 100 speed out to rural communities. And so most of what we've done is fine tuning. And I think when I finish with this, you might consider the captive insurance bill to be truly exciting in comparison, because it gets into the weeds. And the findings and intent, we accepted the houses with one addition, which was we added broadband affordability, the ability of people to afford the service once we run the lines by their house, as an issue that's going to have to be dealt with at some point. It is not dealt with in this bill. That was accepted. The House has accepted. They set up a community broadband authority. We called it a board. They've accepted that. And we have accepted the House purpose as amended for the purposes of the board. Let's see, we get into they accept the Senate definitions, except the following. We had put in a definition of community, looking at small community, cable providers, telecoms, the folks that are there that are already providing communication services, and we wanted to include them. Community was kind of a new concept, and they wanted municipal, so that community came out. It includes an eligible provider as an ISP, internet service provider, working in conjunction with the CUD, and amends the definition of small communications provider to apply to a provider that covers not more than 5 counties. We did not want to do a communications provider that does the whole state. The ones your conferees and probably committee members, we went from Franklin Telephone to Waitsfield Lake Champlain. 3 counties seem to cover those, but apparently there's at least one provider that does 5 up in the kingdom, so we've expanded it. And it amends the universal service plan. Right now, a CUD has to have a universal service plan to apply for a grant. And these are all conditions to apply for a grant. Anybody can pretty much do anything they want on their own dime. These are the conditions we're setting to access state money, the ARPA funds. There was a lot of question about universal service plan. Well, if a telecom does and works works with a town, a municipality, and says, we will do your town, you sign a contract with us. They're not in a CUD. Who does the universal service plan? This makes it clear that it is the internet service provider, not the town, that develops the universal service plan. Then we got to the board's governance structure. The House had 7 members on their authority. They've agreed to change that to board. The Senate wanted a lean, mean machine that would be skilled and very quick to respond to get this money and the fiber out as quickly as possible. In the tradition of compromise, 5 was the middle, so we accepted 5. Our model had the governor appointing 1, the chair, the speaker, and the committee on committees would each appoint 1. We've agreed that the governor would appoint 2, and Vykuta would have, would have a member. I'm trying to remember if it's 1 or 2 members on the board. They would have 1. We had a lengthy discussion. The House wanted the executive. We all wanted the accountability for this program to rest with the governor. That was an issue before with the telecom authority. We wanted there to be a clear chain of command. We had set up the governor appointing the chair of the board for that reason. The House wanted the governor to appoint the executive director. But there were 2 concerns. One was the amount of, this board needs to be up and running as quickly as possible. But in order to get all these people with the required skills, get the board, get the employees hired, the House was very concerned that they wouldn't have the time or the energy to also hire an executive director in a timely fashion. And so the compromise we've agreed upon is that the initial executive director would be hired by the governor, but that executive director would, as most executive directors do, work for and under the control of the board, and that all future executive directors would be hired by the board, which is a pretty standard setup. So we think that has worked. In our bill, for some reason, we gave the board the authority to hire up to 3 employees. I'm not sure why we did 3. I think it was the 3 areas we thought that the CUDs might need assistance with, but we have given them a budget, and this basically says within the budgets, you do what you find as necessary to meet the needs of the CUDs and of the system. And so we have deleted that. They've accepted all of our staggered terms. This gets us down to the community broadband fund. The House originally had the Universal Service Fund, the connectivity fund that is paid for along with E911 and other things by a charge on your phone. The House had transferred that money for the operation of the board. The Senate knows that that fund has issues going forward. It is not producing enough money to cover the cost. E911 is facing $1 million deficit, and it looks like that will be ongoing. And we know we're going to need to deal with that fund. But other money has been used to cover for at least the next 2 years. And the argument was we shouldn't have two funds funding connectivity. So it all goes into one fund. But we also know we are going to have to do some work and some looking at that universal service charge. This clarifies that the Senate's $1.5 million budget that the board can expend is an annual expenditure, not the 8 years that's envisioned for this board. And it specifies that the expenditures will be authorized, all expenditures will have to be authorized by the board. Let's see, then we get to the powers and duties. Basically accept the Senate powers and duties, and at our request, the Senate's request, they expanded those to include the power to contract for statewide fiber engineering design, but clarifies that development of this design is not required and shall not impede the disbursement of grants. There's concern that when we set up this system, it's one system. It works with each other. To date, all the engineering seems to be pretty standard and there's no issue. But technology changes, and if issues arrive, this gives the board the power, and later on we'll authorize them to spend money to do this. But this isn't a requirement, and we don't want them saying, well, we have to wait 2 years for a study before we can disperse any funds. So that was added. They accepted the Senate proposal for funding. We get to pre-construction grants. They accepted the Senate's there. And then the construction grants. They've accepted the Senate, and we've added a few things. It adds under the board's duties is to establish a policy for it doesn't read well. It's continuation of operations plan. If you get fiber out, all right, and something bad happens, the CUD goes belly up. This requires the board to develop a plan to make sure that the lights stay on and the people that are depending on that service still get the service, that we don't have an entire CUD area go dark. And it also requires the board to establish procedures, an appeals procedure. If you get denied, can you, where do you appeal that decision? And it requires them to determine that if a non-CUD project if a municipality or a small telecom working with a municipality that is not in a CUD, that they can't be impeding a CUD's plan. Again, these are all fine tuning. Okay, and it deletes the time limited this year inclusion of 25.3. The question that the Senate was dealing with is, okay, we've got all this money, but what do we do for now? It's probably going to be well into the fall, end of construction season. What happens in the interim? And we had set up with ARPA funding the ability to continue the present line extension program, which only requires 25.3 service. The reason to do that is because you can't just splice fiber into cable. And that precludes your ability to, if your line ends an eighth of a mile from 4 or 5 houses, it makes it unfeasible for an ISP or anyone to run 25.3. So in the interim, we had set that up. What we do later on in this bill is say anyone, including a CUD, the present connectivity fund and program will continue through the first of the year. There's presently $1 million to $2 million in that proposal. I missed something. Recent guidelines for ARPA says that it has to go for 120 speed. So that leaves out the 25/20 and a lot of the line extensions we were envisioning, short line extensions. So what this does is it later on we will make it clear that the present connectivity $1 to $2 million can go out and can go out under the present 25/3 rules. That will get a few houses done. They like our annual plan. We like theirs. Position transfers. We accepted the House. Okay. The bill also says that DPS will transfer the fiber assets that it inherited from the telecom authority to the CUD if the CUD wants it. We just let that ride, but the question has come up. There are, and this is a clarifying, we don't know all of those assets. We don't know the value. We don't know if anyone does. We know there are state laws that govern how public assets can be transferred to public and private. And so we've put in the bill that any transfer has to comply with state law and that it is also subject to review by the treasurer because we are not clear if some of these assets may have been paid for with bonded money. And so it's the last week of the session, and that's probably the best we can do at this point. Section 7C and D is the present connectivity issue. And yet we went through, we've in several places changed board to authority. They accept the Senate proposal for the centralized resources. Part of what we envisioned was that the board would hire engineering skill, legal skill, the skills so that the CUDs could work with the board and there'd be a centralized resource point rather than have every CUD have to go out. These are frequently very specialized skills, and we did that. All right, the annual report they like. We did the state treasurer. I keep jumping around here. I think that is about, I think that is about it. We did some updating to the VEDA statutes just to make them comply with present world. We set those up several years ago. And let's see. Yeah, okay. And then we had put the easement in at the request that said that if there is a utility easement on a pole, that includes hanging fiber on the pole unless there is something in that easement that specifically forbids hanging fiber. We're not aware that there is. It was brought to our attention that we needed to make those retroactive, so we did that and everybody agreed. Let's see. No appropriations. Yes, there are no appropriations. They're all in the big bill. And I believe that is it. And we ask that the Senate will concur. If you're awake.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate accept and adopt the report of the Committee on Conference? Are you ready for the question? Senator from Windham is recognized.
Madam President, just a quick thank you to all of the team on finance. I know when I look at all the work this session, that was one of the hardest bills to shepherd through any committee. And there's so many moving parts. So many Vermonters are counting on us getting it right. And I just appreciate all the long hours. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. The question is, shall the Senate accept and adopt the report of the Committee on Conference? Are you ready for the question? Kindly unmute. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you've accepted and adopted the report of the Committee on Conference on H360. The senator from Windham is recognized.
Madam President, appearing on the calendar for notice, I move that the rules be suspended and that H426, an act relating to addressing the needs and conditions of public school facilities in the State House proposal amendment to the Senate. I am tongue-tied, which is a House proposal of amendment to Senate proposal of amendment, can be found on page 2425.
The senator from Windham has moved that the rules be suspended and H426 be taken up for immediate action. Are you ready for the question? Kindly unmute. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you suspended the rules and agreed to take up H426 for immediate action. We have on the calendar today H426, an act relating to addressing the needs and conditions of public school facilities in the State House school facilities, and the underlying question is, but before we get to that, there was a House proposal of amendment to the Senate proposal amendment, and therefore the underlying question is, shall the Senate concur with the House proposal of amendment on H426? The senator from Addison, Senator Hardy, is recognized for the report of the committee.
Madam President.
Excuse me, Senator, yes.
It's a senator from Washington, Senator Perchlik, for the Committee on Education, please.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Washington, Senator Perchlik, is recognized for the report of the committee on H426.
Thank you, Madam President. Your Committee on Education has considered the further amendments brought to us by the other body to make these changes to the school construction bill. They really only made two changes, even though it's listed as more instances of amendment. But the two that they did, they wanted to change the word coordination to consultation with the Agency of Education is doing with Buildings and General Services in relation to the school construction inventory and assessment. We were okay with just consultation instead of coordination. And the more substantive change is around the radon testing. If you remember, the Senate had added radon testing to this bill after it came over from the other body originally, and we wanted that testing to end in January of 2023. The other body wanted to move that to June of 23, so moved it back 6 months. The main reason being that radon testing is best done in the winter, so they wanted to give up the full winter season for that testing to happen. The other change that they made to the dates is moved the deadline out a full year to June of 2024 for those schools that are engaged in major or HVAC and air ventilation and filtration projects. Since those projects are going to impact the testing for radon, those schools that are engaged in that work have an extra year to finish the testing so that they can get that HVAC work done and then do the testing. And we thought that made sense. The other change to the radon section is we had made this only a requirement of public schools, and they added this would also be a requirement of the approved independent schools, which we thought made sense as well. So we voted unanimously to concur with these further amendments from other body, and we recommend to the full Senate to concur.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Perchlik. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House proposal of amendment on H 426? Are you ready for the question? Kindly unmute. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you've concurred with the House proposal of amendment on H 426. The senator from Windham is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Appearing on the calendar for notice, I move that the rules be suspended and that H 435, an act relating to miscellaneous Department of Corrections related amendments, be taken up for immediate action.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Windham has moved that the rules be suspended and H 435 be taken up for immediate action. Are you ready for the question? All those in favor, please unmute and say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you have suspended the rules and will take up H 435 for immediate action. We have on the calendar today H 435, an act relating to miscellaneous Department of Corrections related amendment. The House has proposed an amendment to the Senate proposal of amendment. The underlying question is, shall the Senate concur with the House proposal of amendment on H 435? The senator from Washington, Senator Polina, is recognized for the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. This, as people remember, is our corrections amendment bill. The other chamber made three really small changes to what we had proposed. They eliminated one of the members of the Corrections Monitoring Commission. That was the community justice centers. They decided they didn't want to be a part of the commission, so they were left off. They also changed some wording around the ability of the commission to look at exit interviews from staff leaving their jobs. They basically used what they said that they would engage in looking at the former employees and their exit feelings. They just took the word out, review exit reviews. Then they decided to put in they require an annual report. We in our committee did not ask for an annual written report. We just asked the Corrections Department and the Monitoring Commission to report back to us, thinking that we wouldn't want to burden them with actually writing a long report. The House decided that they should actually provide annual reports. So the annual report is new. The change in the wording around exit interviews is a little different, and elimination of the community justice centers from the Monitoring Commission are the three changes they made, all of which we think are pretty minor, and we suggest that we concur with the proposal of amendment from the House.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House proposal of amendment on H 435? Are you ready for the question? All those in favor, please unmute and say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you concur with the House proposal of amendment on H 435. The senator from Windham is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Appearing on the calendar for notice, I move that the rules be suspended and that JRH2, joint resolution apologizing and expressing sorrow and regret for those harmed by state-sanctioned eugenics policies and practices, be taken up for immediate action.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Windham has moved that the rules be suspended and JRH2 be taken up for immediate action. Are you ready for the question? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you've suspended the rules, and we'll take up JRH2 for immediate action. We have on the calendar JRH2, a joint resolution sincerely apologizing and expressing sorrow and regret to all individual Vermonters and their families and descendants who were harmed as a result of state-sanctioned eugenics policies and practices. The House has proposed, there is a House proposal to the Senate proposal. The underlying question is, shall the Senate concur with the House proposal to the Senate proposal? And the senator from Rutland, Senator Collmore, is recognized for the report.
Thank you, Madam President. A very small change, which senators will find on page 2427 of today's calendar. In the first whereas clause, the House is asking to strike out the phrase, and the title of the book, Breeding Better Vermonters by Nancy Gallagher, accurately describes the movement's purported intent. We made a very conscious effort when we did our work on this to take out all the mentions of specific institutions and opted to be as generic as possible. And because there's been so much research and writing done by others, to call attention to this one book simply did not feel proper. So the Senate Government Operations Committee voted unanimously to concur with the House proposal of amendment, and we hope our fellow senators do as well.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House proposal of amendment on JRH2? Are you ready for the question? Kindly unmute. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you've concurred with the House proposal of amendment on JRH2. The senator from Windham is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, I ask that the rules be suspended and that we message to the House our actions on H360, H426, H435, and JRH2 to the House forthwith.
The senator from Windham has moved that the rules be suspended and H360, H426, H435, and JRH2 be messaged to the House forthwith. Are you ready for the question? Kindly unmute. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you've suspended the rules and messaged H360, H426, H435, and JRH2 to the House forthwith. The senator from Windham is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, I ask that the rules be suspended and that we message our action on S13 to the governor forthwith.
The senator from Windham has moved that the rules be suspended and S13 be messaged to the governor forthwith. Are you ready for the question? All those in favor, please unmute and say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you've suspended the rules and messaged S13 to the governor forthwith. The senator from Windham is recognized.
Madam President, this time I ask that the Senate stand in adjournment until Thursday, May 20th at 10 a.m.
The senator from Wyndham has moved that I will add subject to any announcement.
Thank you, subject to any pending.
Senate do adjourn until Thursday, May 19th at 10 a.m. Are there any?
20th.
May 20th at 10 a.m. Are there any announcements? The senator from Washington is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. May I interrogate the President Pro Tem if she's willing?
She's standing.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out the status of the miscellaneous tax bill. If we adjourn until tomorrow, we're not going to have we're not going to be able to have a committee conference until Thursday, which is concerning me. I'm wondering if there's some way to meet at 5:30 or 6.
I will request a short recess.
The Senate will stand in recess for a few minutes.